All right, let's dive into something that happens at work way more often than we'd like to admit. We're talking about the promotion that's always just around the corner. It's a manipulative tactic with a pretty grim name, pig butchering. And today, we're going to break down exactly what it is, how you can spot it, and what you can actually do about it.
So, let me ask you this. Have you ever been in that spot? Where your boss is dangling a bigger title, a better salary, but it's always just out of reach. You put in the late nights, you take on the extra projects, all because of a promise that just keeps getting delayed. If you're nodding along right now, trust me, you are not alone.
Yeah, this whole thing has a name, pig butchering. And I know it sounds awful, and honestly, it is. The name comes from the practice of fattening up a pig right before slaughter. In the workplace, it's pretty similar. An employer builds you up with promises and praise, getting every last drop of hard work out of you, only to pull the rug out from under you when it's time for them to actually deliver.
So how does this actually play out in the real world? Well, it often starts with something that sounds perfectly reasonable, but it's really a trap. It's the classic, prove yourself first line.
Let's decode what's really being said here. They tell you, we want to invest in you, but what they really mean is, bend over backwards for us for free. That old chestnut, prove yourself and we'll see, that almost always turns into, oh, sorry, the decision has been pushed back another 3 months. And that big future they're so excited about for you, yeah, that might end up being a tiny, almost insulting 2 to 3% raise. And this quote from an online forum just hits the nail on the head. A 10% raise is expensive, but vaguely promising a future at the company is free. That's the cynical math behind it all. It costs them absolutely nothing to keep you motivated with a promise they have no intention of keeping.
Now, sometimes they'll throw you what's called a dry promotion. This is such a classic move. You get a brand new, fancier title and a mountain of new responsibilities. The one thing that doesn't change? Your paycheck. It's a way to make you feel like you're moving up without the company actually having to, pay you for it.
To really understand how serious and how damaging this can be, we're going to look at a real-world case study. The story of Miha Vaughn, a former executive at a major company, shows just how extreme and dangerous this tactic can become.
Just let these numbers sink in for a second. While chasing that promised promotion, Miwa Vankale alleged she worked at her peak, 119 hours, in a single week.
And if you think that's unbelievable, get this. After she was diagnosed with breast cancer, she alleged she was still working an average of 107 hours a week while undergoing chemotherapy.
The physical toll was just immense. It all led to a suspected mild stroke that landed her in the hospital.
So, what happened when she raised the alarm about this insane workload? Well, one executive allegedly just dismissed her concerns, telling her the workload was normal and that she was just expected to drink from a fire hose.
Okay, so let's walk through the timeline of what she alleged happened. She joins in 2019. Just a year later, in 2020, she's promised a huge promotion. But then, in March 2022, she gets a devastating cancer diagnosis. According to her claim, just a few months after her surgery, that promotion she'd been working herself to the bone for, it was taken off the table. And it all ended with her role being made redundant earlier this year.
So, what happens when a situation like this goes beyond just a broken promise? Well, it can actually cross the line into violating your legal rights at work. So, let's talk about the legal framework that exists to fight back.
This was the question Ms. Van claimed she asked when she found out that other people were suddenly being considered for the job she was promised. It is just a powerful, heartbreaking question that cuts right to the heart of her claim, that she was being discriminated against because of her health. Her claim also detailed some truly shocking alleged comments from the CEO at the time. When she brought up the workload, she was apparently called crazy and warned she was self-sabotaging. Unbelievably, her cancer diagnosis was even described as making everyone feel a bit awkward.
So, legally speaking, this is where something called a general protections claim comes into play. You could think of it like a shield. It's what you use when you believe an employer has taken illegal action against you simply for exercising a right you have at work, like, say, making a complaint about your workload or having a disability. And a key part of that is this term adverse action. So what does that actually mean? Well, it's a broad term for any unlawful action your employer takes against you. It's not just about getting fired. It can be a demotion, changing your job to make it worse, or discrimination, all things that were alleged in this case.
In Ms. Van's case, the list of alleged adverse actions is, well, it's long. It started with that denied promotion. Then she was removed from key meetings.
Her responsibilities were taken away. She was even marked down on a performance review for poor work-life balance, while she was literally fighting cancer, and finally, her job was eliminated.
Now, I know the details of that case are extreme, but the tactics behind it are not. So let's bring this back to you. How can you spot the warning signs in your own job, and what can you actually do about it?
Okay, here are 3 really crucial steps. First, just recognize the signs. Are the promises always vague? Are the goalposts for that promotion always moving? Are you taking on more and more work with no reward? Second, and this is so important, document everything. Keep a log of every promise made, the extra hours you work, any emails, any negative changes to your job. And third, get expert advice. Understand what your rights are before you make a move. You don't have to figure this out alone.
For example, in Australia, you have organizations like the Australian Workplace Discrimination Representatives. Now, these are specialists, they're not always lawyers, who are experts at helping people navigate the system. The key takeaway is to look for similar workplace advocacy groups where you live that can help you understand all your options.
And that really brings us to the final question I want to leave you with. Take a good, hard look at your job, at the promises you're being made. Is your company genuinely investing in you and your future? Or are they just fattening the pig for their own benefit? It's a tough question for sure, but it's one you gotta ask.